The Chicago Bears face one of the greatest circumstances they could possibly have, and that is the number one pick overall. Ryan Poles negotiated that last year, and here we sit with the opportunity to take perhaps a generational talent, or perhaps trade down and take a generational talent. Either way, this is looking like the draft that will change the course of the Chicago Bears for a very long time. Now, the value of the number one draft pick or even the number nine draft pick is a very fluid thing and could change at any time. And Ryan Poles, I'm sure, knows that. But there are certain things that have happened in the last 48 hours that have increased the value of that number one and that number nine pick. Now, before we unpack all of this, if you like this content, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and the like button and the bell to be notified of future content if you enjoy it and content like this. So let's move on. And the first thing that we're going to address is the rapid descent of Bo Nix. Bo Nix did not have a great Senior Bowl. Bo Nix did his best to sprinkle in some well-placed throws during 11-on-11 drills, but he had some inexplicable errors, like missing simple checks down throws and short routes that negated his positive plays, which were very few to begin with. So with the stock of Bo Nix falling, then that begs the question, what next? Well, that would indicate that maybe, just maybe, the Denver Broncos or anybody looking for a quarterback in the lower half of the draft now find themselves in a more desperate situation because they just saw the worst possible outcome for the guy that they thought maybe they could reach down in the draft and pick up. That puts a little bit more premium on trying to get Caleb Williams. And that's, of course, even if the Bears would trade the number one pick to anybody, because the Bears might be locked in on picking Caleb Williams. According to Brendan Rice, who is a wide receiver for USC, he says that if you can risk not picking him and picking apart his game and letting him fall, have fun losing your job, man. Honestly, have fun. I'm proud of my quarterback. And that's what he told the Chicago Sun-Times at that same Senior Bowl. There's been plenty of criticism about Caleb Williams and his character and makeup, but Brendan Rice says, I love him as a teammate. That dude's a leader. I had some dark days out on that field my junior year. I had a lot of drops and a lot of inconsistencies, and he knew how to bring out the best in me. He sits back and laughs at all of the criticism. He adds it to his drive, and it fuels his fire, and he goes ahead and just displays every day that he's going to be a leader and attack the day. Now, Ryan Poles, on his behalf, still very positive about Justin Fields, but we are going to turn every stone to make sure we have a sound decision for our organization. I do think Justin got better. I do think he can lead this team. At the same time, there's a unique situation, and our staff has to look at everything. Poles said he would once again have to be blown away by a quarterback to move on from Fields. But if there's someone who will blow Poles away, it'll certainly be Williams. Au contraire, mon frère, because we also have a statement, something coming out from Daniel Kelly, who was a scout for the New York Giants, and he made a statement about Caleb Williams. And look, you have to decide who you think Caleb Williams is. You have to pick, what do you think his character is, and how does that translate to the NFL? Because I can tell you this, Johnny Manziel was one of those players who came out of nowhere, knocked down a Heisman, looked like the greatest thing ever, no longer in the league. He couldn't cut it. He couldn't do it because he had problems. And it wasn't really seen in the beginning. I mean, we saw the talent on the field. We saw what Johnny Manziel could do. And then guess what happened? Well, according to Daniel Kelly, he took a look at Williams over the past two seasons, and he says he's much closer to Johnny Manziel than Patrick Mahomes on the spectrum. I mean that with respect and sensitivity, but that's what I would say if I was a scout sitting in the pre-draft meetings. We witnessed Caleb Williams have a mental breakdown right before our eyes, crying uncontrollably in his mother's arms. This is not, by the way, a deal breaker to me. I think to me, that's passion for football and that's passion for winning. And you might have to consider at least that that's what it was and not his zest for individual accomplishment or to win back-to-back Heismans. It's easy to throw that into the mix, but Caleb came back because maybe, just maybe, he wanted to, with his teammates, win a national title, and realizing that you came back and now it's not going to happen in that moment. Maybe, maybe it breaks you down a little bit. I don't know, but he did do it. And then to me, he continues to me, as a former NFL scout, he's the most mentally fragile player I've ever evaluated, quarterback or otherwise. Now, is there some reason that he's, attacking this college kid? Is there something that, you know, they have a relationship, a recruiting thing or something like that? I don't think so. I think he's just looking at it and he's being critical, perhaps even hypercritical about what he sees. And maybe, just maybe, he feels like he's that guy that knows that this is not the pick. Or he can be completely wrong. He has little experience dealing with adversity, even by his own admission, something that he has said. Now, they go on in this article to say, well, it's a little bit much to compare Williams to Manziel. He could be compared to former quarterback Jay Cutler. Kelly went on to say that he had bad body language and tone in the last 6 weeks of the season. It was evident that the Trojans were not going to compete for the Pac-12 title. Kelly noted that Williams seemed aloof. Let's see. A quarterback with awful body language gives off a bad tone when he speaks and seems aloof. Where have we seen that before? Oh, right, Jay Cutler. Well, that is one person's opinion. There was something that USC backup quarterback Miller Moss said after he led an impressive upset over Louisville in the Holiday Bowl. Williams did not play to avoid possible injury. Moss threw 6 touchdowns, a school record, in a bowl game. However, after the game, he said something that could be considered shade on Williams. And this is very important. I don't think it's as much about me as it is about the team. The emphasis is really to come together as a team. No ego, no individual. It's all about us as a team bonding together, and that's what we are to focus on moving forward. That is the backup that performed. By the way, Miller Moss will be available in the draft if the Bears don't take Caleb Williams. Miller Moss had 6 touchdowns against Louisville. And by the way, I'm a Louisville fan. Louisville had one of the better defenses in the country, had been playing very, very good football, had no reason to not perform. Now, Louisville did have the same as USC, some players that decided not to play because they didn't want to get injured and ruin any possibility for some draft stock. But that doesn't change that this guy came out strong. 6 touchdowns is a school record, which means that Caleb Williams, with 30 something games to try, didn't get it done. Miller Moss did it, and it took him 1 game to get it done against the top 15 team, by the way. Miller Moss has a much better record against top 15 teams than Caleb Williams. So, when you look at this, there are some questions that you would be fair to be asking about Caleb Williams at this point. Now, one more piece that fell into place, which is working really well for the Chicago Bears, is this right here, and that is that Michael Penix Jr. opts not to play in the Senior Bowl, choosing instead to not work out and let his draft stock be whatever it may be at this point. Now, that's not good because it's not going to increase your value. It's not going to increase your stock as we normally see. However, there is a possibility that this does drop him down a few pegs for not wanting to show his talent. So that then turns that draft pick, that number 1 or that number 9 draft pick, into something more valuable for the Chicago Bears. Now, there's 2 plays that you can make here, and I think we should at least consider that the Bears have a myriad of options, but the most likely of options at this point that we have to consider is that there are potentially 2 generational talents: Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr. So the most likely play for the Chicago Bears is to take the 1 pick and swap to New England Patriots for the 3 pick, and then allow, if you're going to move on from Justin Fields, you're going to take that 1st pick at Caleb Williams. But if you're not, and you're deciding that, we're going to stick with Justin Fields, but the value for Caleb Williams is still there, So we're going to trade with the New England Patriots. You're going to take Caleb Williams. The number 2 pick is obviously going to be Drake May. And then the Bears slide into the 3 pick and pick up Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, here's what you have as an argument, by the way. And I do want to say this because I think it's very important. There are a lot of people, Justin Fields fans and Caleb Williams fans. And the Justin Fields fans say, well, we think that Justin Fields is better because he's been here 3 years. He knows the system better, and we believe in him. 80% of the fan base, but there's 20% of the fans that think that Caleb Williams is a better option based on what they've seen on tape, based on everything that they've seen. They believe that he's a generational talent and that it would be criminal for the Chicago Bears to move on and continue with Justin Fields when you have a generational talent like Caleb Williams. But allow me to throw a wrench into their logic. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the actual generational talent in this draft. It would be just as criminal to pass on Marvin Harrison Jr. as it would to pass on Caleb Williams. The one thing that you do see is generational talent between both. What you do not see with Marvin Harrison Jr. are things like head case, is emotionally imbalanced, has never had to deal with adversity. That's not what you see from Marvin Harrison Jr. You see a man who knows how to play the game at an elite level, who's focused, and who doesn't have the appearance of issues mentally that Caleb Williams seems to possess. So I would posit this. No matter what, the Chicago Bears are about to get better. The Chicago Bears are about to become a playoff contender and a playoff team. But if you tell me that the Bears have to take Caleb Williams as a possible generational talent, and this is not just this guy, this is multiple scouts saying there's something a little bit off about what Caleb Williams is doing here with the painted fingernails, with the crying. There are issues, right? Now, you're taking 2 generational talents. Why would you not take the one that's not the head case? Potentially. Why would you not take that person? So if you're a Caleb fan, continue to be a Caleb fan. If the Chicago Bears choose Caleb Williams, he has my full support. And I hope that we don't see anything about that quote unquote head case or any of the issues that these people are bringing up. But I tell you unequivocally, nobody's bringing that up about Marvin Harrison Jr. So if you're asking me, what makes the Bears better? I say Marvin Harrison Jr. So anyway, take the first pick, drop it to the 3rd pick, pick up Marvin Harrison Jr. Then you have the 9 pick. Maybe you send that to somebody else, or maybe the Denver Broncos, or maybe somebody later in the draft is going to give you a gigantic haul, making it worthwhile for you to make a move. And then with a 9 pick, you're going to go for Rome Odunze. And by the way, let's clear the air here. Marvin Harrison Jr. is gone at number 4 at least. So that he's definitely going. So Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, and Brock Bowers become the options. It would not be optimal to pick up Brock Bowers. No matter how talented he is, he's still a tight end, and you already have what has become a very good tight end in Cole Kmet. You don't enhance your passing game significantly by trading a Cole Kmet for a Brock Bowers, even if you bookend them in a 2 tight end set. What you need is a wide receiver who can go out there and make the plays. Now, if you go with Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors at the 9 pick, then you re-sign Darnell Mooney. You do those things, you probably look like a decent passing team. You didn't get your generational talent, but did you get a generational haul of draft picks? And if that's the case, then you're going to build and continue to build. And by the way, the Bears, they will be in the playoffs. They will be a top offense next year. They will be a top defense. This is a team that is going to rattle some cages next year. The Chicago Bears are on that come up, and they will have that moment. But no matter what you do, as long as what you get at this point is generational, then the Chicago Bears are going to be just fine. So I think that no matter what we do in Ryan Poles, we trust. When you look at the bad moves that Ryan Poles has made over this time, something like a Chase Claypool, some of the chances that he might have taken, get rid of Roquan Smith, financial, by the way, and Roquan Smith has been a great talent. But look, TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds have been great substitutes in those positions. So even the bad comes out good, except Chase Claypool. So there are so many good things that Ryan Poles has done that I'm going to put my faith in Ryan Poles to make the right decision. But we're going to keep talking about all of this stuff that's going on. We're going to keep talking about all of this. Let me know in the comment section. Do you think Brendan Rice is right that we have to take Caleb Williams? Do you think that passing on an actual true generational talent like Marvin Harrison Jr. Is a wise move? There are plenty of different options out there, but I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section down below. And remember, this is we're all Chicago Bears fan. We're not Caleb Williams fans. We're not Justin Fields fan. My personal opinion, Justin Fields represents the best option to win for me next year because we're still getting him cheap and you can still trade him at the end of the year and still pick up Shedeur Sanders. You still have a lot of different options in the draft next year. So, I don't think that this is done. I don't think that it's a necessity, but I would like to know what you think. So leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. And we'll talk to you again very soon. And bear down.